So the 2026 NASCAR schedule for the Winston Cup, Busch Grand National, and Craftsman Truck Series are all officially revealed, and the two biggest headlines mainly surrounding the big schedule changes is not only is North Wilkesboro coming back for a points-paying race in the Winston Cup Series for the first time since I was 2 years old and 30 years since 1996, but Chicagoland Speedway is officially back for the first time since the 2019 season, the last non-COVID year, meaning the Tropicana 400 is back. The other biggest headline mainly surrounding the big schedule changes in NASCAR for the 2026 season is that we got Ford Championship Weekend at Homestead Miami Speedway back, meaning the Ford 400 is officially the championship finale again for at least 1 year before we start rotating the championship race to decide a champion each and every year from 2027 and beyond. So we will go over these big headlines and all the other notable schedule changes throughout the rest of the video until we get to the very end, aka the checkered flag. So therefore, buckle up and hold on. You're going to be in for one hell of an escapade of going over every single schedule change that NASCAR made to differentiate next year's schedule from this year's. Hey YouTube, what's going on? Mark here. Happy Wednesday to all, and happy Shane Hall 63rd birthday to my mother, Linda Ann Oliveras, aka Toast Stealer. Toast as in French toast, and then Steeler. I'll save that story of how that nickname was earned for another day and maybe another video, but I'm not promising anything that'll actually happen of how she earned that nickname. But today's video, we are going to break down the 2026 NASCAR schedule in terms of the Winston Cup Series, the Busch Grand National Series, and the Craftsman Truck Series. Yes, even in 2025, almost 2026, I still say the predecessor, the OG names, aka the predecessors of things that have been around for a long time, even before me, because it's how I remember it the most because of what I grew up with, and that's how it'll always be for me until the end of time. So don't be judging me, because it goes to show you younger generation of fans how old I am, because most of y'all young ass casuals were around for the glory days of when it was called Winston Cup, when we had Pontiac Grand Prix, Dodge Intrepid, Ford Taurus, Chevrolet Monte Carlos, and only 2 road course races a year in Searsport and Watkins Glen. You know, the Busch Grand National Series also had the Gen 4, and we had the OG Craftsman Truck Series before it became the brain rot shit show that it is today, that it evolved into in 2023 after with the Chevy Silverado 150 finale at Phoenix, and then after the Daytona disaster in 2024, a day after my Jeff Green 30th birthday, though the Florida Dodge Dealers 250, I guess NASCAR and you know had the Truck Series decided to schedule a meeting where they come together and said, this is not racing, this is not how the Truck Series was represented, let's fix it. And they fixed it all right. From race 2 of 2024 in the Truck Series all the way until the race at Texas this year, no green, white checkered bullshit or overtime demo derby stupidity, and it's gone off the rails back in the wrong direction the way it was since 2023. Since then, I mean, to be fair, even before the Chevy Silverado 150 shit show, the Truck Series was already a dumpster fire, but, you know, it did rebound a lot for all of 2024 and the first 2/3 of 2025 until the Texas race. And then it just went back to its old ways. But anyway, rant aside. But anyway, let's go over the least important series to the most important series. So we're going to start off with the Craftsman Truck Series. So we have the usual Florida Dodge Dealers 250, which will be my last work day, being Robbie Gordon, Mike Skinner, 31 years old. So this will be my second to last race as a 31-year-old for Skinner and Robbie Gordon. So that's not changed. So I know the trucks are coming back to MIS for another June race, meaning, the Busch Grand National Series will have another year where they're not at MIS, because unfortunately MIS has not been known for having all 3 series run in one weekend, where Winston Cup were run both weekends, June and August in the pre-pandemic days, with Busch Grand National in the beginning taking August, while Craftsman Truck took June, before they eventually flip-flop. And I think it was 2010 they flipped. Wasn't it 2010 they flip-flopped? Something like that. I think they did. You know how I know? because 2011, because when we went to MIS in 2011, and it was 2011 because we went to meet Montoya in the garage when I was 17, when I was to my junior in high school. We didn't go to the truck race because my dad has way less interest in trucks than I do. So we had enough, that gave us enough time to visit our old friends in in Redford on Lenore, by the Lenore house. So while the truck race was going on, we were listening to it, on Sirius XM NASCAR radio. Because, we did go to MIS in June for both Busch Grand National and Cup and Winston Cup, and it was the nationwide sprint banners. So, the first year that, they flip-flop was 2010, where Busch went from August to June, and Craftsman Truck went from June to August. And then COVID hit, the COVID version of MIS, where it was the truck series, decided got a bonus week in there that they shouldn't have got. That should have belonged to the Busch Grand National Series had COVID not hit. And then we ended up mixing, but the August race the way that when it was supposed to, when it was originally supposed to be, and what was supposed to be the June race on in one whole August weekend. But they said no. I mean, some tracks that year, keep in mind, were allowing fans in the stands at limited capacity just to be on the safe side, so where they were going to be firm about creating a safe environment so people don't get COVID. But at the same time, they were being fair, like they were allowing some fans, but not every track was going to do that, because then that wouldn't be, I don't think it would be fair. I don't remember how that shit fucking worked. That was 5 years ago. But yeah, unfortunately, MIS was one of those race weekends during the COVID season that didn't allow fans. So my dad and my dad's brother's wife's cousin Dennis weren't able to go because the no fans allowed because of COVID. So therefore, they mixed the June and August race in one whole weekend for August of that year, with the Craftsman Truck and Arca series playing Arca Remix series playing second fiddle, where Zane got his first career win, even though we all know John Hunter should have won that if Grant Enfinger wasn't such a fucking dumbass. If y'all remember, if you know, because if COVID never hit and things remain the same today in life, and this post-COVID life doesn't happen, and the vaccine year that we call it 2021 doesn't happen, like 2021 doesn't happen the way it does. Either way, one, I still think MIS would have lost its second date regardless. But two, that would have been our last, time, going to MIS in June instead of going both in June and August. That would have been like our last ever June race. That would have been our last June race for now, because we did come back to MIS when they last said fans could go back in 2021, but it was in August. So what I'm trying to say is in 2020, if the pandemic never happens, June MIS was going to be our final June MIS race for the time being. And I say that because my dad and I, after the last tour in 2023, we're speculating about coming back in 2026 after taking 2024 and 25 off. Well, now that 2026 is almost here and the MIS tickets decided to go on sale, I immediately didn't waste any time and shared it on Facebook with my dad, so he might consider it. But if he does consider and actually get the tickets, I hope we were able to get the same seats back that we had during the post-COVID years. Vaccine year all the way to the summer 2023 abomination, the one full year I took off NASCAR besides MIS and the Gatorade 2125. So, yeah. That would have been our last June race, because every other race, COVID or no non-COVID, would have been where every other race, including the pandemic version, was all in August. But the if COVID didn't exist in 2020, then that would have been our last June race, no matter what, because MIS was going to get one date anyway. So, yeah. So, let's get to the point though. I'm yapping about what it could have, should have, and if this or that, blah blah blah, X, Y, and Z. What I'm basically saying is that also would have been, the Busch Grand Nationals weekend with MIS and with Winston Cup had COVID never happened. But we still got Busch Grand National at MIS in the vaccine year, 2021 to 2022, 23, and 24, all the post-COVID years up until this year when MIS got the truck series, got MIS back on their schedule, meaning Busch Grand National had to be scrapped. So if we go back to MIS next year, there's a guarantee we might be able to visit the Lenore House in Michigan. But wait, that wouldn't be possible compared to the last time we were there in 2015, the first year we moved here, where it was 2 life phases later, and well as same deal in 2016. Thing is, it wouldn't be the same because at least in the years we did come back to visit in 2011, 2012, 2013. Yeah, let me see here. Let me do the math here. August 2011, August 2012, August 2013, June 2015, and June 2016. Yes! Because 2014 we didn't have time because the Spurs were in the finals and we're looking to hand the 4 and 6 in the finals, another finals L, and send his bum ass back to Cleveland and break up that Miami super team and dismantle all the Miami bandwagons that gave real Heat fans in 1988 a bad name. So yeah, that's part of why we couldn't visit. We didn't have time to visit our old friends in Redford. So 2015-16, and even the years before 2014, and those 2 years combined, those 2 years combined, we were last there. At least the majority of our old friends and neighbors were still there. Now it's like ever since the last time we were there, and even before COVID, going into COVID, and then the vaccine year, and then all the post-COVID years, 2022 to now, they've all grown up and moved on, and got started their own started their futures, got their own house, started their own family, had children, got married, it turns out if we were to go back, then what would be the point? Because they like to visit that. It's not to live, but to visit. It just wouldn't be the same. At least at Sanders, we could still visit during the home days because even though a lot of the former neighbors, even ones that moved before they passed, they're all in heaven. Like my grandmother, Mr. Patterson, Mr. Stavoli, a bunch of Sanders people ended up passing away over in recent years, My grandmother was the last of them to recently pass, so therefore Mr. Patterson died months before my grandma did, and Mrs. Davoli died not too long before that. I mean, sure, they're gone, but majority of her friends are still there. I mean, the Rinaldis, they've been gone since the last time we were there. Not last non-COVID year. The day after my sister got married was the last time we saw the Rinaldis. Because in the years that it got canceled in 2020 and 2021 and 22, no motivation, desire, including that minor shooting in 2021, the Rinaldis left. So by the time we came back, they were gone. So therefore, that's why I had no purpose going to their house to visit them because they were no longer there. There was a bunch of people there that live in that house there, and I don't even know. But yeah, Sanders would still be the same, somewhat the same, because majority of my old crew is still there. Not any single one of them has moved. So most of them haven't. Some of them did. Some of them were before us and even after us left, but a lot of them stayed too. But yeah, the Craftsman Truck Series, we'll talk about more about Dover when we get to the Winston Cup side. But they're getting a points-paying race at Dover. So, therefore, at least the Truck Series is back at Dover. And so, of course, with Ford Championship Weekend coming back, we get the Ford 200 as the championship finale and the Craftsman Truck Series again. So, it was pretty obvious that was the case. I mean, we got the traditional and usual. Who's that commenting? Okay, that's Charlie Faberosis replying to me. Shout out to you, man. I'm glad to see you back uploading NASCAR Thunder 2003 career mode content. But yeah, the fall truck race at Talladega is back for another year. I mean, don't forget the reason why we got a fall Talladega at Busch Grand National race to begin with in 2020 was because COVID killed off that MIS race, and Busch Grand National was supposed to happen in June, and Talladega replaced it for the EA Sports 500 weekend in the Chase. And after 2021, with that whole thingamajig, if you know, you know. I'm not going to mention it here because we do not talk about that bullshit on my channel. I mean, they did get rid of it for a year or two, but then they, probably because of that bullshit that happened in 2021, But apparently they didn't learn their lesson and decided, you know what, let's bring it back. Like, why the fuck does Busch Grand National have a fall Talladega race? That was never meant to be a thing anyway. In my opinion, they should have just kept that off the schedule completely. But that's not up to me. That's a NASCAR's call, because Talladega was just fine not having a Busch race in the fall. Like, I don't get it. I just don't. Sure, I can understand for COVID circumstances in 2020 and 2021, but 2022 up to this point, they should have just taken it off and left it off. But what do I know? But yeah, they're going back to Lime Rock again. They're going to Lime Rock again, even though I probably most likely won't watch, because I barely watch the Truck Series nowadays. I forget that it's there. I mean, we got Chicagoland Speedway back, so the Craftsman Truck Series is going to race there. Is there any more important races in the trucks that I think I might have missed? That's pretty much all I can think of right now at the Craftsman Truck Series. But anyway, now we get to the Busch Grand National Series. So unfortunately, Portland is off the schedule after this year in place of a second Darlington race, and I know CRAD TV wasn't too happy about that. Am I one of those only ones that want the UAW GM Quality 500 Winston Cup race in the Chase at Charlotte back in the fall, just out of spite, just so it would piss CRAD TV the fuck off, just for the entertainment? I mean, no offense, dude, but seriously. I know you don't want the fall Charlotte Oval race back, but the majority you don't override the majority, my friend. I hate to be that guy, and the majority wants the fall Charlotte race to be back on the oval, along with the fact that the Roval in general, no matter what they would replace it with, has overstayed its welcome. I'm with you on if they don't bring back the oval for the fall Charlotte race, put it at Rockingham for the Pop Secret 400. But even if they do that, they've got to do one thing first: fix the damn car and the package, especially on the short track sales, the package altogether. But you don't override the majority. You only represent a small amount of people. The majority wants the UAW GM Quality 500 back. I mean, who gives a shit if races have two dates? Sure, some sacrifices have to be made, but some tracks are basically meant to have two races. So, I mean, some aren't. There's obviously some aren't meant to have two races a year, but there are some that actually are, and they're pretty some damn good racing both ways. So, therefore, hopefully, NASCAR thinks twice about this when we get to this time of year next year, and thinks about like scrapping the oval, because I'm getting sick and fucking tired of that shit being on the schedule, because it has basically overstayed its welcome, just like how Matt Crafton had overstayed his welcome playing in the Craftsman Truck Series, and I'm glad he's fucking retiring after this year. But yeah, okay, the Busch Grand National Series is leaving Portland for a second Darlington date. I think they're racing at North Wilkesboro too. Yeah, they're racing at North Wilkesboro. And I think, aren't they racing at Dover too? I think they are. I think it's going to be a triple header weekend. I might be tripping on that. I'll have to go back and check. But, the Napa 300 is going to be the day before my Ricky Craven 32nd birthday. My last day being Mike Skinner, Robbie Gordon, 31 years old. And I know with the Ford Championship weekend back, we get the Ford 300 back at Homestead for the Busch Series finale. So, and of course, you already know how I feel about there being a fall Talladega Busch Grand National race, when that originally wasn't a thing to begin with, and it should have stayed that way. Yeah, and I think going back to the Craftsman Truck Series, I mean, I like the fact that the Truck Series is racing on the Roval and they're racing it at night. But here's what I think I would do. If you're going to keep the Roval, and that way CRAD TV could stop bitching about, him not wanting the fall Charlotte race back on the Oval and Winston Cup. Why don't we do it this way? If they don't bring it back if they do take away the Roval for the Winston Cup Series, but don't replace it with Rockingham, put them back on the Oval for the UAW Gym Quality 500, why don't we keep the Roval, but in this way? Hear me out. Let's keep the Craftsman Truck Series on the Roval for that weekend, and then the Busch Grand National and Winston Cup Series can do the Charlotte Oval in the fall at night. So both parties are happy. But I don't know if CRAD TV is going to be all in for that. But That's why I'm kind of hoping they go back to Charlotte over for the fall. That way, I know it would piss them. It would piss them the fuck off. So that's kind of what I'm hoping for, kind of out of spite. Cause I know I'd get a huge, kick out of that. Cause I know that's not what he wants, and I'm hoping they do make that change. Cause I know he's not going to be happy if they do that, because that's not what he wants, and I'm kind of hoping that they do. But all in all, at the end of the day, C-Red TV and I are like, are all good at the end of the day. It's just not, it's nothing personal. It's just a difference of opinion, I personally want the UAW Gym Quality 500 back, but if they can't do that, and but if they get rid of the Roval, then put him at, and I do agree with his idea, put him back at Rockingham with the Pop Secret 400 after you fix the damn package. So I'm trying to think. I know there's no MIS and Busch Grand National again this year. I think. Oh yeah, I don't know if Busch Grand National is racing at Wilkesboro for a points race, but I'll have to double check and see. I'll address it at the end of the video what I missed. But I know the Busch Grand National Series is going to be doing the Tropicana Twister 250 at the Chicagoland Speedway, with Chicagoland coming back for 4th of July. I know Atlanta's going to be mostly a night race, all around the schedule, all around 3 series. So they're going to do it the weekend we go to Brook Park Home Days, which is usually the weekend of the 4th of July, which is each and every year. And, we get 2 off weeks. One for the Easter Bunny 500, where they're going to, Craftsman Truck and Busch Grand National are going to go back to North Carolina Speedway, better known as Rock in Rockingham, North Carolina, for the Easter special. If I'm not doing anything on Easter the next year with my dad or anything, if I have a dead Easter, or if the weather's still shit by then, it hasn't fully broken back into warm, then I guess I will watch both races then. So I look forward to that possibly. I mean, we get another off weekend after, at the beginning of August for Winston Cup. So I already addressed the two off weekends for Winston Cup. So I think there's a lot of I'll have to check and see if, after I go over Winston Cup, I will double check and see if Busch Grand National and Craftsman Truck are racing at Wilkes. I know they're all 3 are racing at Chicagoland. I got to see if they're racing at Dover and Wilkesboro together, all 3. So let's get into the Winston Cup schedule. This is taking too long, so hold on a second. Okay, the Winston Cup Series. As we all know, the Daytona 500 was on my Ricky Craven 32nd birthday, Sunday, February 15, 2026, which will be my first birthday and first Daytona 500 without my grandma, and my second Daytona 500 and second birthday with Emily. So that was going to be a fun one, and I won't have to be. I'll be deeply sad in the inside this time, because my grandma's in a much better place. Me and Emily can actually relax next year when we're starting my 32nd birthday watching the Great American Race, and hopefully next year Mother Nature stays the fuck away and we get a daytime Daytona 500, even if it ends at the crack of dusk. At the crack of dusk going into the nighttime hours. So therefore, I just want to see a Daytona 500 daytime showing for the most part, even if it ends at sunset going into the crack of dusk. So I'm all for it. And I know the Tropicana 400 is back. I'm really excited about that. So as long as Jerry Springerman decides next year to also not hold the 4th of July party like he did last year, I will celebrate 4th of July on July 4th, Saturday, with whatever I do. Maybe Berea Home Days again. And then July 5th, we will be watching the Tropicana 400. Now, the Tyson Holly Farms 400 at Wilkesboro is back. And you know what that means? That means they get a points-paying race for the first time in 30 years since 1996. Because back in the last points-paying race, back when they used to race there for points races each and every year, either did not exist or was just a baby, and that's the weekend after Brook Park Home Days. So even if just like the 4th of July, depending on if Jerry Springer holds a 4th of July, Jerry Springer man, I should say, Justin Dana Rogerson holds a 4th of July block party or not, decides to bring it back, or decides to leave it in the vote for another year next year for season 6 of Under the Sun. But that's like, yeah, same thing with Wilkesboro. Even if it's like 80 some degrees and sunny, I will be staying inside just to watch the Wilkesboro so I can see what it was actually like for points races before my time. When I didn't exist, I was just a baby and I still lived in Cleveland and had not touched Michigan yet, which gave me NASCAR. So the Dover All-Star race. I get you wanted to give Wilkesboro a points race since most of old school fans wanted that, like old school fans before me, and even some of the newer school fans that came, some of the other old timers that came after them, like me, even some of the newer generation that wanted it since they weren't alive for like even after Wilkesboro and got taken off the schedule like in the late 90s, early 2000s. But come on, I'll start when the Winston at Dover. I do not understand that, and Dover doesn't have lights, and they don't have the money, or probably Dover doesn't want them to install lights. Like the city of Dover, probably some of these cities with all these Winston Cup tracks that have weird laws to the point where they don't want lights, so they can't install temporary lights. So this will be the first time since like 1991, I think. I don't fucking remember or really know, to be honest, that the Winston will be run in the daytime rather than nighttime, like it was from 1992 all the way till last year. I mean, 2019, the last one at Charlotte was run at night. And the one in 2020, whether it was going to be run at Charlotte for the last time without COVID ever happening, or Bristol like it actually did with COVID happening, was at night. The ones at Texas in 21, 22 was at night. Wilkesboro was at night in 23 and 24, and 25. But Dover, I could think of a better choice than that. I mean, come on now. I mean, the Brickyard 400 is back, and the in-season tournament is back, is returning for another year for the TNT portion, and thank God we're not starting that shit at a super speedway where so many brackets got everybody's brackets got busted after that big-ass wreck that took out everybody during my niece's birthday parties for their Dale Sr. 3rd and Steve Park 1st birthday party. So yeah, at least this time we're starting out with the Dodge Save Mart 350 at Sears Point. So next year, it will not be the week after we get off the 4th of July when we're at the old house for home days. So taking the place of the Dodge Save Mart 350 from this year will be the Napa 500 at Atlanta Motor Speedway, which will be Sunday night under the lights. So, yeah, and we have a race on my sister's birthday. I think it might be the Carolina Dodge Dealers 400. I'll have to double check and see. Well, I'll address what I kind of remember or messed up at the end of the video, just so you guys get the accurate information. But my sister has a race on her birthday. I think it's either the Food City 500 or either the set race or the Food City 500. So I'll look and everything, but the All-Star Winston going to Dover, that means the MBNA platform is bye-bye. Another move I don't understand. What the fuck is this moving the Sirius satellite radio at the Glen from August, where it was always at my entire life, except for that 1 year last year when it was in the Chase, which kind of made it interesting a little bit. It turned into a little bit of a chaotic wreck fest at the end and an mini overtime shit show, but it was miles better than that snoozer we got for my girlfriend's birthday race this year. And other than last year, I always grew up with Watkins Glen being in August when it's either during the Cornfest weekend or a little after the Cornfest weekend or even before the Cornfest weekend. I mean, it was never before the Cornfest weekend. It was always either during the Cornfest weekend or after the Cornfest weekend. So yeah, but all of a sudden they're moving it to Mother's Day instead of Darlington, where it's the first time in my entire life that we're going to get a Watkins Glen race on Fox rather than the networks that we normally would see it to the middle to the late portion of the year. That one I don't understand at all. I mean, considering it's probably going to be a snow race, because it still the snow hasn't completely fucked off in upstate New York by the time Mother's Day comes around. It'll still be muddy down there, and the climate will probably be trying to nature will trying to clean itself up, try to get ready for the summer. I mean, there's going to be a bunch of mud, probably a little bit leftover snow, and it's probably going to be plagued by weather. So stay on your toes. So if we were going to replace, if Wilkesboro was going to get a points race and have a sacrifice be made, it should have been the MBNA Platinum 400. It should have replaced the Food City 500, because nobody has given a shit about Food City 500 for the last several years, which is kind of why. I mean, 2020 doesn't count only because there was no fans allowed in the stands, and that was like, a safety protocol by default, so that kind of doesn't count. But even if that doesn't happen and we get like a non-COVID year in 2020, which means we would have got non-COVID years 2021 to now, it would have remained the same. Not many people would have showed up, which is why NASCAR tried something different to get the Spring Bristol back to its glory days of more people attending. And guess what? The shit blew up in their face, not because people didn't show up. Well, maybe it was a little bit of that, but more the fact that it was a failed experiment on the track, whether people showed up or not. 2021 got postponed to the next day. I think it was Saturday night to Sunday afternoon because of rain, and the Cleveland Fox affiliate decided to show the bitch ass news instead of the race. So I had to pull up Fox Sports on the website on the computer to stream it. And before I had to watch the Spurs take on the Kings in San Antonio later that same day, which the Spurs lost. And then 2020, that one I actually liked. 2021 dirt race I actually liked. And then 2022 started the 2-year Easter Bunny 500 dirt race, because keep in mind, the first ever Bristol dirt race in 2021 was not on Easter Sunday at all. 2022, I decided to watch it again, and it turned out to be a pretty good showing. And we all know about 2023. I was taking the year off from NASCAR, and plus, my mom was like vacationing out of town, out somewhere. I don't fucking remember. And I was in her room before she put the special doorknob up. I will have a video addressing what the fuck happened as to why that some freak accident happened on July 11th. Now that that's all settled, I will have a social media and post in a YouTube video addressing that as to why my finger looked like it did in some of the videos, which is why I've been trying to keep it under wraps until the whole thing was situated, but now it's all good now. For the 2023 Easter Bunny 500 dirt race, the last ever Bristol dirt race was Spring Bristol, I was sick in bed with the cold, and so therefore my Twitter career was on life support. So I was reading all the angry tweets as to why people were hating the race and getting pissed at the nuclear wreckfest shit show that was going on. And so when they brought back the Food City 500 on Concrete 2024, it turned out to be a fun one by luck because of the tire debacle where tires were grenading like they were going through a fucking cheese grater. And then this year for Emily's second NASCAR race and first Spurs game combined, it's at the same time, it was a snoozer. So Wilkesboro, I would have had them replace, Food City 500. So I had a chance to relook at the schedule. I was trying to remember what I was saying. So Busch Grand National is not going to be at Wilkesboro. So I was kind of right on that. I know all 3 series will be at Dover with the All-Star Weekend, which All-Star Weekend in NASCAR and every other sport is lost to cluster. I wouldn't have a problem if they got rid of the All-Star race in NASCAR altogether. But if people still want to enjoy the All-Star game in the NBA, the MLB, the NHL, and the most overhyped and overrated sport we call the bitch-ass NFL, aka the devil, then have at it then. Because as a NASCAR fan, I have not given a shit about the Winston or the Busch shootout for the longest time. It's like, what's the fucking point in tuning in if it's not the same? It's like have the same luster like it once did in NASCAR's heyday, or even so many years past NASCAR's heyday. But all 3 series will be at Watkins Glen for Mother's Day. I did check that. That is for sure. Lime Rock will be the weekend that they're in the Busch Grand National and Winston Cup are in Atlanta for the Napa 500. The weekend after 4th of July, the weekend we go to Brook Park home days. So I did check that out, like Kevin LePage. And oh yeah, here's the last thing I wanted to mention in terms of the schedule. The obvious announcement: the Viva Mexico 250 is off the schedule because besides the fact that and the Chicago Street Course as well, because in place of the Chicago Street Course on 4th of July will be the Tropicana 400, as I mentioned, at Chicagoland Speedway, along with the Busch Grand National Tropicana Twister 250. And In place of Viva Mexico will be the San Diego street race, the naval-based Coronado for Father's Day. I know Mexico only is off the schedule for hopefully maybe 1 year because the NASCAR wants to avoid competition from FIFA soccer. And that's a smart move. Maybe it'll come back next year. But would that mean naval-based Coronado will stay on the schedule with Mexico and with Chicagoland? Or if Mexico does come back, does naval-based or Chicagoland get scrapped? I mean, if Chicagoland delivers this year, because Gen 7 can put on a damn good, always puts on a damn good show at mile and a half. So if they don't repave the track and leave it as it is, it could put on a kick-ass Tropicana 400. And if it happens to be that way, then NASCAR better consider keeping it on the schedule and having it back for long term for the rest of existence. Because if it flops, then what are they gonna do? Only time will tell. You just never know what's gonna happen next. So, therefore, that I will be. Yeah. Okay. Let me slow down a little bit. So naval-based Coronado will be after MIS and Pocono, and then naval-based Coronado will be at like in between Pocono and Sears Point. So yeah, Sears Point will be moving from the Brook Park Home Days weekend to the week I think before 4th of July, I believe, something like that. And the Brickyard 400 will lead us into the off week. So. Yeah, I try to break down the schedule as best as I could to the best of my ability. So please forgive me if I fumbled a little bit in between sentences and trying to remember everything was what. So before we close out this video, let me clarify all the things I messed up and or missed, and then we're gonna get the fuck out of here. So yeah, a little bit of some extra details to keep in mind. The Carolina Dodge Dealers 400 is indeed on my sister's what will be her Bobby Hamilton Jr. 35th birthday. The Craftsman Truck Series sadly will not be racing at Chicagoland on 4th of July. The Ford 400 is back as the championship finale with Ford Championship Weekend back at Homestead. And the most notable schedule change that's honorable mention, the New Hampshire race gets pushed from being the Sylvania 300 and the Chase back to the New England 300 towards the end of the summer. Right before, in between, I think it's in between the Chevrolet Monte Carlo 400 at Richmond and the Pepsi 400 at Daytona. So that's partially what I missed. I mean, other than that, there's really nothing much else to break down. So I did fuck up on the Spurs, schedule breakdown video. So it's several big mistakes in that copy. So I scrapped the original copy. So by the time you're seeing that video later tonight, this video will already be up. Like as an immediate upload. Just the re-upload of the Spurs one will be on a rescheduled upload later tonight before my mom's birthday comes to an end. And then tomorrow night after Cassie, but there's going to be raining most of the afternoon tomorrow, going into the night, while after where it would have been our already time to come home, will be Mark's Thursday night presentations. The Todd Bodine installment going over the departure of Bismack Biyombo from the Spurs organization as he left San Antonio quietly, kind of like how Bassey did, unfortunately. So I apologize in advance if you're looking for that video, like the Spurs news update last night. Yeah, I had to take it down and redo it. There's some minor editing changes in there, but it's only because I had to redo it and put some other audio over the original, where as long as it was the same audio then synced together, like the new cop version of the audio that was already in there synced over the original audio that already came with the original video. So my apologies for the inconvenience. And Friday, since we're not going to record Cedar Point this year for the end of summer explosion, the end of summer explosion on YouTube will start off with a tape delayed video of us at the Lorain County Fair on Sunday. So that'll be like the little fill-in void to start the end of summer explosion on this Friday the 29th, and then the 30th we'll record some random video in Sandy Ridge. I don't even care what it is. It could be anything. So it doesn't have to be a randomness video, but it has to be something. So Maybe we'll do a Sandy Ritz trash talk with Uncle Jimmy. Maybe we'll do a comedy skit with somebody. Maybe do some funny business. Act and shit. I'm not sure. I can't tell you if whether I'm gonna do a prank or not. Because if I tell you, then it won't be as funny and it won't be as exciting and fun. So I'll do prank videos when you least expect it. That's the only one I will not share in advance on the internet. That way people can be surprised. And then Sunday we got the season 5 finale of Fun in the Sun in conjunction with the end of summer explosion. Then the Labor Day video, and then the end of summer recap. As the second to last day of the end of summer explosion. And the reason why we always extend it to at least September 3rd, as long as September 3rd is in the middle of the week and not like a weekend, like a 2022 off camera 2023, is because Jesselyn Wadlam from Living La Vida Lab Rats, the greatest female villain of all time, just female villain of all time, Giselle Vickers, celebrates her John Andretti 43rd birthday. So that's one birthday tribute that we usually do each and every year that will actually make a return, because the other ones we usually do every year, Kelly Bergler and Haley Arantia, ended up taking the year off this year, so to avoid burnout. But that will be back next. Those birthday tributes will be back next year, hopefully somehow, some way. So we will be doing, her birthday tribute on the 3rd. The Adventures in Autumn season 5 season 5 Adventures in Autumn will premiere the day after, on September 4th. Then we'll do a 12 years YouTube anniversary special on the 5th, and then Uncle Richie will have a gathering with my mom's side of the family on the 6th, which that will be YouTubed as well. And weather permitting next Sunday, if it's a little frigid next Sunday, you know what? Might as well watch the opening round of the Chase for the Cup. We might as well watch the opening round. I will not be doing a Chase for the Cup preview this year because I'm a little pressed for the amount of uploads I may or may not give you throughout the rest of summer to end the season, and we're going into the beginning of fall to kick off that new season. So just a heads up in advance, if you don't see my own Chase for the Cup preview or I don't do predictions no more, because fuck that. If you don't see a preview video for the Chase for the Cup this year, then you'll know why. So we will hopefully, if the weather is frigid, we will most definitely do a race review of the Gateway race. And September 8th, I don't know what, and beyond, I'm not sure what we're doing for the most part. I know we're probably going to do a Sharpie 500 race review not this coming Saturday, not this Saturday or next Saturday, but the Saturday after that. And hopefully this time we won't be up here watching on the computer, sick in bed with a sinus and ear infection this time. We can enjoy that race from the comfort of our office where we watch our NASCAR racing and San Antonio Spurs basketball, even if the race is boring. And you already know the drill about the football and basketball games. We will figure that out one way or another, I promise. But let's shut the fuck up and get the hell off this thing and, call it a video. Have a good night tonight and a better day tomorrow. Take care, everyone. Good night. And I'll see you all for that next video, which will be later on tonight as scheduled. It's already ready to go. And the next video I'll record and upload in real time is Thursday Night Presentations, episode 26, aka the Todd Bodine installment, tomorrow night, addressing the departure of Bismack Biyombo from San Antonio and the Spurs organization. See you later, everyone.
This copyrighted telecast may not be reproduced, retransmitted, or used in any form without the authorized written consent of NASCAR Broadcasting. NASCAR would like to thank all of our fans for your support, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.